Om Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Om Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Sadashiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryantam Vande Guru Paramparam Asmad Gurubhyo Namaha. Shruti Smriti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutra Bhashyakritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punah Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavad Vyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Om Shri Medha Dakshina Murti Swamine Namaha Om Sahana Vavato Sahano Bhunakto Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om Satchidananda Rupaya Krishnaya Klishtakarine Namo Vedanta Vedyaya Urave Buddhi Sakshine Krishna Dvaipayanam Vyasam Sarvalokahite Ratam Vedabja Bhaskaram Vande Shamadhi Nilayam Munim Sahasramurte Purushottamasya Sahasranetranana Padhabaho Sahasranamnam Stavanam Prashastam Niruchyate Janma Jaradi Shantyai. Namaste once again, all of you. So we started seeing the meaning of this sloka. Aprameyo Rishikeshav Patmanabho Maraprabhuho Vishwakarma Manuspashta Stavishtas Savirodhruvaha. This sloka, we started seeing the meaning, and I started with Aprameya. Aprameya means the one who is not an object of knowledge. It's a very technical word, this Aprameya, and is a very, very important word also for us to understand from a Advaita Vedanta point of view. And that's why Adi Shankara actually has written a little detailed commentary for this, as compared to the other namas and all, one sentence or something he is written. But here he has given a detailed commentary with about 5-10 sentences. Okay. So, Prama, there are certain technical words which you need to know. Prama means knowledge. Prameya means the object of knowledge. Pramana means the source or the means to obtain the knowledge. And Pramata is the person who obtains the knowledge, the knower. So this vocabulary one needs to be a little bit familiar with. So here, what is happening? It is said that the God or Paramatma is not an object of knowledge. Then the question is, if he is not an object of knowledge, how do we know him? Isn't it? And a more serious question will be, if God is not an object of knowledge, then does he really exist or not? Because we know that about any object that we have the knowledge of, that object exists. We are able to, in some way or the other, experience or come to the conclusion of the existence of that object. Now, if you say God is not object of knowledge, does he really exist, or is it all a figment of imagination of the rishis, munis and all, who created an entity called God? so that everybody becomes religious and start praying and all that. And in Puranas or even in some other religions, they even gave an identity to the god being a male, an address to the god where he is in, in the heaven or Vaikuntha or Kailasha or somewhere. He also gave they also gave God some work in terms of keeping the account of what good, bad things people have done, and also deliver justice. All these things, very beautiful character of a God has been built up. So the question will be, such a God, does he exist or not? So when we are trying to know God and discover Ishvara, we need to get convincing answers for all these things. And Aprameya Nama is the one we have to unlock that to understand the whole process. And in fact, this is a very crucial Nama, and it occurs even Lalita Sahasranamam also. In any Sahasranamam, this Aprameya will be there. Because our scriptures time and again are trying to tell us, don't think that God is an object of knowledge. Ishvara is not an object of knowledge. What he is, we will see. Okay. So how to understand this word Aprameya is the question. So when we say God is not an object of knowledge, we need to understand what do we mean by knowledge. We need to analyze the process of knowledge, how knowledge takes place. Any knowledge presupposes three things. First, there should be an object of knowledge, which I told you that it is called Prameyam. So Prameyam is an object of knowledge. For example, a table, a chair, a laptop, flask, cell phone, they are all objects of knowledge. We get the knowledge of them because they are all Prameyam. Then there should be a person who gains that knowledge, isn't it? Otherwise, what is the point? Where knowledge always sits in a human being. And that person, as I told you, is called a Pramata, the knower, the person who gets that knowledge, a knower. So a Pramata gains the knowledge of the Prameyam. Okay? Must follow this thing carefully. Huh? This is how in Vedanta we do analysis. Detailed analysis we do so that some complicated aspects are made very clear. This is Mimamsa. Then the third aspect is to gain the knowledge. The Pramata requires some means or some instrument to gain the knowledge, isn't it? And that means or instrument is called a Pramanam. For example, to gain the knowledge of the color or shape of a flower or any object, flower and just any object, what is the Pramanam we require? We require this eyes, working eyes. They are the Pramanam for shape and color. At least shape you can have Pramanam is touch, your hands. You can feel, even if you are, sort of challenged by eyesight, you can at least feel and make out a shape. Color, you cannot. Eyes are the only Pramanam for color. Similarly, music. What are the means for us to gain knowledge of music? Hearing. So this is a Pramanam for music, sound. And as I told you, the knowledge itself which is gained is called Prama. Therefore, for Prama or knowledge to take place, there should be a Pramata, a knower, who needs to use a Pramana, a means or an instrument of knowledge, to gain the knowledge of that object which is called Prameyam. So therefore, a suitable pramanam means, a suitable pramanam or means of knowledge becomes crucial for gaining knowledge of any object. And the beauty is, each pramanam can give you the knowledge only of one aspect of the object. When we are seeing a, say, movie or a TV serial, there are two pramanams they are working. One is eyes, which are seeing the shapes and colors. Another is ears, which is actually listening to the sound. The ears you cannot use for seeing, and you cannot use the eyes for hearing. You cannot interchange the what I can call the role of the pramanams. So each pramanam has got a role, and that role it fulfills in terms of gaining knowledge. Now let us understand what are all the pramanams which Shastra talks about. Pramanam means instruments or means of knowledge. Shastra talks about 6 pramanams or 6 means of knowledge, you can call it. And their names are Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana, Arthapatti, Anupalabdhi, and Shabda Pramanam. These are the 6 pramanam Shastras talk about. Pratyaksha, the word itself means direct means of knowledge. It is the knowledge arising from the interaction of our sense faculties with the sense objects in the world. So, this involves our sense organs, but sense organs on their own cannot gather the knowledge. They can get the inputs from outside, but for getting the knowledge, we need a mind to be active behind the sense organs. Because for knowledge to take place, we require the mind. Because knowledge takes place in the mind. Antakaranam, you can call it. Because in Shastra, again, when you call mind, it has got a specific role. So let us call it Antakaranam, the inner instruments, which is comprised of Chitta, Buddhi, Mana, Buddhi, Chitta, Ahankara. These 4 are a combination. Generally, we say mind, and it is understood that whichever role is to be played, they are all aspects of the same instrument only, one instrument. So the mind is required always. Otherwise, you may be seeing, your eyes may be seeing an object. The mind is not behind that eyes. Nothing will register in the mind and no knowledge will be gained. Students sitting in a class will be hearing what the teacher is teaching, but mind is somewhere else. In some beach or in some mountain top, in the company of some very desirable people. Nothing that is being taught will go inside, even though the ears are operating. So mind needs to be behind these, our sense faculties, for the knowledge to take place. So knowledge, Pratyaksha Pramana, involves our sense organs plus the mind to support them or to back them up. Now let us understand how this knowledge is formed in Pratyaksha Pramana. Because as per Shastra, mind, our sense faculties, everything is inert. They are jadam. They become active because of being blessed by the consciousness. Consciousness lends the sentiency to all these. That's why in a dead body, when the consciousness has left, Even though eyes may be open, nothing will be registered. Mind has left. Sukshma Sharira has left. There is nothing. So dead body cannot gather any knowledge. Why dead body? Even people who are in a coma or in a certain state of mentally challenged people, they cannot gather any knowledge because all the faculties are not working in sync with each other. So what happens? What is the process through which this knowledge takes place? Let's take the example of our eyes. The eyes go out, interact with a sense object in the world, gather the information about the color and shape of that object, gets that input to the mind. Till that stage, no knowledge has taken place, even though the mind, the input has gone to the mind. The moment this happens, the consciousness pervades that. So what happens first is, when the input comes in and gets registered in the mind, a thought is generated. It's called a vritti in Sanskrit. But that vritti is insentient. It cannot create any knowledge. But what happens is exactly simultaneously, it is not even a one after the other process, It is not sequential. Exactly when the vritti is taking place, consciousness, which is all pervading, pervades that vritti also. And that vritti becomes sentient and it becomes knowledge. This is how the process takes place. For us, it may all look very, I may take 5 minutes to explain it, but it happens in just nanoseconds, like it happens in computers. So this is how the knowledge takes place. That is how we get knowledge. But then the problem is, this vritti, this thought is fleeting. It goes away. So what happens? There is a mechanism. The moment this vritti is formed and becomes sentient and knowledge is gained, immediately the data is transferred to chittam, the memory, where it gets permanently stored. After that, let this thought go away, it doesn't matter, because the knowledge is got and it is got stored. And that is available for recalling later on, comparison. So many things we can do with that knowledge. We'll come to all that. This is how the process of knowledge takes place. So that is why we require an object of knowledge, we require a means for knowledge, including the mind, and we require a knower who is conscious, who is sentient knower, who has got consciousness. That's why in sleep and all that, in deep sleep, no knowledge can take place. Everything is completely resolved. So this is the way the process of knowledge takes place. Okay. So the Chaitanyam, the moment it pervades that vritti or thought, the thought becomes knowledge. That is what we have to understand. So a formless awareness, earlier, the consciousness is formless. There is no form. The formless awareness pervades a form and then it makes it a knowledge. This is how. That is why, in Shastra, consciousness also is called chit or jnanam. Consciousness is of the nature of pure knowledge. So when we say knowledge of an object, unless the consciousness has pervaded it, that knowledge will not take place at all. So that is how it's called Satyam Jnanam Anantam. So the Jnanam part of it is consciousness. Okay. So the enlivened thoughts become knowledge. And as I said, it is stored in the memory rather. And even though the thought has gone, another new thought has come. Another new thought, the same process, another data sent to the storage continuously in our waking state. continuously happens. Either it is by sight or by hearing or by smell or by taste or by touch. All the inputs come, go to the mind, get enlivened by consciousness, and they become knowledge. This is how the pratyaksha pramana works. Okay, so this is the first way of gaining knowledge. Out of the 6 means of knowledge, this is the first means, pratyaksha pramana, and it's a very important means, because other means, 4 other means depend upon this pratyaksha pramana only. So the second means of knowledge which Shastra talks about is called anumana. Anumana means inference. We have a certain knowledge, certain association of that knowledge with certain other things. And when that association again takes place, then we gather a knowledge of the new incident based upon the past association, which is stored in our mind or in our chitta. So anumana or inference is also valid means of knowledge. And it is described as reaching a new conclusion or truth from one or more previous observations or previous truths by applying reason, logic. So using the pratyaksha pramana, we have gained the knowledge. Suppose that a fire is always accompanied by smoke. Where there is fire, there will be smoke. This is the vyapti we get. Nyaya. This is the vyapti, means there is the interrelation between 2 things we can establish. Where there is smoke, there will be fire. Okay. So with that, because the knowledge is already stored, earlier we have seen this incident where we saw a lot of smoke and the cause for the smoke was fire. This knowledge has been gained by the pratyaksha pramana and stored in our memory. So next time we see smoke, what our intellect does is it brings out that memory, compares the 2 situations and say, there is a fire now. New knowledge. Because you have not seen the fire. Fire right now, for example, the fire is there on the mountain top and you are standing below the mountain. All that you can see is the smoke. But from the smoke, you can infer that there must be a fire. This is how Anumana Pramana works. So it is based upon the previous knowledge, but applying the previous knowledge to present circumstances and gaining fresh knowledge of the situation. And this smoke, mountain is a classic example which is given in the Shastras. They talk about fire on the top of the mountain and smoke is there, and through that you can infer that there is a fire, seeing the smoke. Another day-to-day example we can cite by this is, suppose we have slept in the morning, we get up and we see outside the window all the roads are wet. So you can come to the conclusion that previous night it must have rained. That is why the roads are wet, because you know that when it rains, the roads become wet. This is the conclusion that is there in your mind. You have not seen the rain. It has rained during your sleep. But when you see the wet roads, you can make an inference that it must have rained at night. So this is not example from Shastra, but my own example. Okay. So this Anumana works based upon previous association. Next is called Upamana. Upamana basically means comparison or analogy. For example, Puja Swamiji gives this example. we don't know what a bison is. We are going to undertake some African safari. So go to a friend, you ask him, I'm told that there are a lot of bisons in Africa. I'm going on a safari. How does a bison look? The friend cannot, doesn't have any photograph or to show you. So he says, the bison looks like a buffalo. So if you come across an animal in Africa which looks like a buffalo in the jungle, you can take it that it is a bison. This is how the Upamana Pramanam works. So you go to the jungle and you saw an animal, dark, big like a buffalo, with horns and all that. Oh, this must be the bison. You have never seen the bison earlier, so it was not a Pratyaksha Pramana object. You are seeing bison for the first time. But you have seen a buffalo which is there. So comparing the features of that buffalo with this bison, features like the size, the horn, 4 legs. So you can imagine whatever features you want to imagine, which are common to a bison and buffalo. You gain a new knowledge by applying this Upamana Pramana that this is a bison. So this is the third type of means of knowledge which we can gain by this Upamana Pramana. Then we have got Arthapatti. Arthapatti means a postulation, a derivation from the circumstances. In fact, Arthapatti more or less works like the Anumana only rather. Anumana, there is a direct inference from a previous experience. In Arthapatti, it's a very general kind of a thing, but you can come to a conclusion about a circumstance based upon a general principle. You don't have an experience of that probably, but there is a general principle. I'll give you an example. For example, there is a person called Devadatta. This is an example from the scriptures. You find that this Devadatta does not eat during the day at all. Whole day he doesn't eat. But you find him to be fat and healthy. So you wonder, this fellow doesn't eat at all, but he is still fat and he is healthy. The only conclusion I can come to is he must be eating at night. At least one time meal he should be having, otherwise he will starve to death. So this is the way Arthapatti, because you have never seen him eating at night. You have never seen that anybody else who is not eating being healthy and fat. So these are all general information that you have got. Now that general information you apply to this particular case of Devadatta and you postulate. Even at that stage, you are not sure whether that is correct or not, but there is no other explanation possible. So you postulate that since I don't see this Devadatta eating during day, and since Devadatta is healthy and fat, he must be eating at night. This is the postulation, a new knowledge which you get. So somebody asks, this Devadatta, I don't see him eating at all. But still, he keeps on working. You tell him, I know, he eats at night. Even though you have not seen it. But you say, I know. You have gained that knowledge. Okay. So this Arthapatti also is a very valid means of knowledge. And Shastra, this is how it works. It goes deep into all minute details. Knowledge means what? What all types of knowledge that you can gather? What are all the means through which you can gather knowledge? Then the next one is called Anupalabdhi. Anupalabdhi means what? Non-existence. Non-existence of an object that you know exists is a new knowledge. For example, if I tell you there is no elephant in this room, right? For me, the absence of an elephant is a new knowledge because I don't see an elephant. So even non-existence, Anupalabdhi, Upalabdhi means which exists. Anupalabdhi means doesn't exist. So non-existence is also a means of knowledge. That's what Shastra talks about. So it's a negative or a cognitive proof of the absence of any object. So these are all the pramanas. 5 pramanas we have talked about. Starting from Pratyaksha, Anumana, Upamana, Arthapatti and Anupalabdhi. 5 pramanas. Now what happens is, for Anupalabdhi also to operate, you must have the previous information in your memory of what an elephant is. If you don't have that, Anupalabdhi will not work. You must know that there is an animal called elephant which exists. That is stored in your mind. And that knowledge you apply to the current situation to look around in the room and say, I can't see an elephant. So it's a knowledge you have gained. That absence of an elephant is a knowledge you have gained. So for all these, for this Anumana, Upamana, Arthapatti and also Anupalabdhi to operate, Pratyaksha Pramana is required first. They all depend upon Pratyaksha Pramana. In fact, in Vedanta, Advaita Siddhanta, we take 6 pramanas. Some other philosophies and all, they say, no, these Vedantins, they are just splitting hairs. These are only 2-3 pramanas. These are all duplication and all they are doing. It doesn't matter. They let them believe what they want to believe. We will believe what we want to believe. Because we feel we are much more detailed in terms of Mimamsa, in terms of analysis. And all our, right from Veda Vyasa, Adi Shankara, everybody accepts 6 pramanas. So for us, they are our gurus and we accept them. Some other, their contemporaries may not accept it, but they are followers. The other philosophies are followers of those contemporaries. We are not bothered about it. So these are the 5 pramanas which have got the basis in Pratyaksha Pramana. Then we have got what is called the Shabda Pramana. Shabda Pramana means basically refers to the Vedas and scriptures, which is an independent Pramana. Nothing to do with Pratyaksha Pramana. Shabda Pramana is an independent means of knowledge. Shabda means, Shabda Pramana works by our relying on the word or the testimony specifically of Shruti, that is the Vedas, which are divine compositions. That is very, very important for us. If it is a human composition, it is liable to error. So we cannot have that as a means of knowledge, because if we gain knowledge from that human composition, that error can pass on to, error in that knowledge can pass on to us, infect us. So since Vedas are divine compositions, we take Vedas as a pramanam, Shruti as a pramanam for everything which cannot be known by Pratyaksha Pramana or all the other following 4 other pramanas. So that is why we must understand that when we are talking about Vedas, we are talking about Vedas being a means of knowledge. Veda itself means knowledge. The word Veda means knowledge. Because in our experience, we find that there are many things in this cosmos, in this universe, which are not amenable for our sense organs to gain knowledge. Even for that matter, the mind. But all these things are very important for human life. For example, rebirth. We know about rebirth only from Vedas. We cannot experience rebirth. We cannot gain knowledge of rebirth. Sometimes we may be able to use some logic or some arthapati. For example, there is a small child which is singing very well. All ragas, Carnatic music ragas, the child sings, is able to identify everything. And it's a 2-3-year-old child. Now the question is, how did the child learn all these things in 3 years? Yeah, people 30 years they learn and they still can't make out anything. 3 years the child is able to say. Use arthapati postulation that this child must be reborn, must have been a very big singer or an accomplished musician in the previous birth. And those samskaras have come down. Because Vedas talk about this. Rebirth means what it means, that samskaras are carried forward, all the stula and karana sharira, or sorry, sukshma and karana sharira are carried forward, and all those kind of things. So we come by at least arthapati, you can hear postulation. We don't have any proof. It's not backed by any pratyaksha pramana also. The only pramana is Veda. The only means of knowledge of rebirth is Vedas. Vedas say so, we take it as correct. And we don't challenge the Vedas. We don't go looking for proof for Vedas. We are not that way very scientifically tempered. Veda is science, but just going and questioning everything which is there. Even science itself also claims so many things prove, but ask them, where can you show me electrons? Can you show me protons? They no. They are all that you have to just believe that they exist. That's what they say. And when we say the same thing about these Vedas, they will say, no, there is no proof. This is the weakness of the scientific community. They have got certain rules which follow these rules which we follow, but when we use it, they will oppose us. Anyhow, let it be like that. We are not bothered about that also. Once upon a time, they were challenging God. And then they spent millions of dollars to find out a God particle. God particle. They used the terminology also, God particle. And that also failed. Why? Because God is not an object of knowledge. They have not understood that. They have not understood. They have not read Vishnu Sahasranamam and come across Aprameya. If they knew God is not a object of knowledge, they will never be searching for God through a particle or through a wave or something like that. People say quantum physics is very close. It may be very close, but it will never be closed. It will always remain an open question only. Whatever you do, as long as you treat God as an object, you will search for God. The day you will understand God as not an object of knowledge, you will stop the search and try to understand him through the pramanas which are available, which is the Shabda Pramana. Shabda Pramana is the only one which tells us that there is a God exists. Similarly, Punya Papa. We cannot gather any information about what is Punya, what is Papa. The Shabda Pramana, Vedas are the only source for that. Existence of the 14 lokas, again Vedas are the source. We have not traveled to those lokas and see, oh, this exists and all. The Vedas are the only source for these 14 lokas to exist. We believe in them. We feel that after we die, we'll go to Pitraloka, and then if you have done a lot of Punya, we can even go to Swargaloka, Brahmaloka. All that from Vedas we gather rather. That's all means of knowledge. So Vedas actually are called Shabda Pramana and also Shuddha Pramana. It's a pure knowledge you get from the Vedas. Okay. From the Vedic scriptures, knowledge of things which are beyond human perception. And Puja Swamiji always used to insist that you come to scriptural studies, unless you accept Veda as pramana, as a means of knowledge, it will not bless you. You will never ever get any knowledge of the finer aspects of the human life, the subtle aspects of the human life, the aspects of human life which you cannot experience. For that, you have to accept Vedas as pramanas only. So, the question is that looking at all these things, means of gathering knowledge, for knowing God, which is the pramana we should apply, is the question. Which means should we use to know God or Ishvara? If God is an object, we can use pratyaksha pramana, our sense organs and mind to know God. Because we can successfully, if God is in the form of a sound, God is form of a touch, whatever it is, sight, sound, smell, touch, or taste, we can use our sense organs to know what is God. But we have so many people have tried, but we have not been able to know God by using any of our pratyaksha pramanas. If we were able to know God through using these pramanas and mind and all, there will be no need for Vedas. There are the scriptures and all, like even Vishnu Sahasranamam, these classes will be a waste. I know what is God. What are you trying to tell me 1,000 names of God? Will be the question. So we cannot know God through that. And since pratyaksha pramana doesn't work in the case of God, unlike any other object in the world, any other object we can gain knowledge through pratyaksha pramana. But God is not an object for pratyaksha pramana. The conclusion we can come to is that God is aprameya, not an object of knowledge. So he is not an object of knowledge and cannot be known by the 5 pramanas that we have described. And this is confirmed by the 6th pramana, the Vedas. What the Vedas say? They say, Swarupataya, by his nature, God is Ashabda, Asparsha, Arupa, Arasa, Agandha. Vedas itself saying, what are you searching for, my dear? He does not have any sound, Ashabda. Arupa, God does not have any form. Asparsha, you cannot touch God. Arasa, there is no taste for God. Agandha, God is not, it does not, when he is there, he spreads some fragrance, very beautiful, nice fragrance comes from God. That is also not there. So when God is none of these, how can you use your 5, sense faculties to know God? You cannot know God through all these things. And that is what, coming now back to Adi Shankara's Bhashyam, he says, Shabdadi Rahitatvat, being free from sound, touch, form, smell, and taste. Shabda Adi means Shabda, etc. Means all the 5 sense, faculties. Adi, etc. Rahitatvat, since God does not have it. Na pratyaksha gamya hai. He cannot be known by pratyaksha pramana. He is not available as a prameya, as an object of knowledge, as an object of direct perception. So he is aprameya. So if pratyaksha pramana doesn't work, then it follows that all the other 4 pramanas like anumana, upamana, arthapatti, and anupalabdhi also will not work. Because they all have dependence on pratyaksha pramana. So God cannot be known through Anumana Pramana, because Anumana or inference is to be used as a means of knowledge. If we have to use it, we must have a previous observation of God. So when God is there, this thing happens. We make an association, like the fire and the smoke association, God and something. And when then we see the something, we say, oh, there is presence of God. There, God is there. We have never seen God. So how can we say that when God comes, this will happen? We have seen fire and smoke, but God we have never seen, we have never experienced. So Anumana will not work. This is that in the case of smoke and fire, the smoke in the technically called linga, indicator of fire. In the case of God, there is no linga, and linga is a very important ingredient for Anumana Pramana to work. It is through linga only we come to know what is the actual thing which is, of which we gather the knowledge. So that is why Adi Shankara says, na api arthapatti grahya hai. No, sorry, I think I have missed one sentence. He says, sorry, na api anumana vishaya hai tat vyapta linga abhavat. So God is not a anumana vishaya. He is not a cannot be known through Anumana Pramana, because there is no linga, there is no indicator to know God. So this is the second one. Anumana also he dismisses. So this one-step inference business also is dismissed rather. Okay. Then there could be a question. Somebody may say, Ishvara can be inferred because I see the Jagat, and I know that if there is a creation, this world, there should be a creator. So I can use Anumana Pramana inference to know that when there is a creation, there should be a creator, and with that I can gain knowledge of the creator. Now there are two problems in that. First problem is, you may know that there is a creator, but what is the nature of that creator? What is the knowledge that you are getting that is a creator? You won't get any details. He has created the Jagat. But that's a minor problem. The bigger problem is, you know that there is a creator and there is a creation. How do you know that there is only one creator? On what basis you come to that conclusion there is only one creator? As there are so many parents for so many children, for so many things in this entire universe, there may be so many creators. How can you use this Anumana Pramana inference definitely saying there is only one creator? You cannot. Somebody will question, I will question, how do you know there is only one creator? You won't be ever having an answer. So that is not also a valid means of using the Anumana Pramana. Because basic thing is, for any inference, a linga is required, an indicator is required. If you take Jagat as an indicator, it has got to be a finite indicator that there is only one creator, which is you cannot find. So this is the second way. This is Anumana Vishaya cannot be, na Anumana Vishaya cannot be arrived at by inference. Na api Anumana Vishaya tat vyapta linga abhava. Then what about Upamana? When you say a bison is like a buffalo, it is Upamana or comparison. You have seen a buffalo. When you see an animal that you have not seen before and it looks like a buffalo, you can conclude by upamana that this should be a bison. Comparison is also a valid means of knowledge. How does this work? This works on the basis of the comparison of the parts, the bhagas, right? Component parts of the two animals. As I said, previous knowledge of buffalo is necessary. That a buffalo looks like this. It has got this complexion. It has got a tail, which is of this shape. Then it has got a horn. Its ears are different from the ears of the elephant. All those descriptions you must know about a buffalo. Shape of the legs. Then you see a similar animal. In the case of a buffalo, you see the udder, but in this case, you don't see an udder. So other features are matching. So the fellow has said it is bison. You come to the conclusion that this is bison and you gain the knowledge. But as we have seen, Ishvara in his Swarupa, his very nature is formless. It doesn't have any form. What are you going to compare with them? He is nirbhaga. No parts to compare. Therefore, upamana is not possible. And that's what Adi Shankara says. Na api upamana siddha nirbhagatvena sadrishya abhava. This is what he says. So you have nothing to compare. So Ishvara cannot not be known by upamana also. Now let us examine Arthapatti, which is based on presumption. As I said, postulation, derivation. When you see smoke coming out of a chimney, in fact, Arthapatti, Puja Swamiji explains it much better in a two-step inference process. When you see a smoke coming out of a chimney in a house, first thing you come to a conclusion that there must be a fire. Because of this, the smoke is coming. This much upamana and Anumana and Arthapatti are same. But Arthapatti goes one step further. Since the smoke is coming from a chimney, and since the chimney normally, this type of chimney will be installed in a kitchen, there must be cooking going on in the kitchen. So by just seeing the smoke in the chimney, you make a postulation that cooking is going on in the kitchen. Knowledge. Valid means of knowledge. So this is called a two-step inference. Puja Swamiji calls it two-step inference. First inference, smoke plus fire. Second inference, kitchen chimney plus cooking. So two-step inference, through which by seeing the smoke, we know cooking is going on. Okay. So the fire thing is put in the back burner. But again here, we must have the previous knowledge that cooking is associated with fire, fire is associated with smoke, and that is how we can postulate this whole thing. So without pratyaksha, earlier experience, Arthapatti or Anumana will not work. Basic data for this inference or presumption is itself absent. It is provided only by the sense perception. And this is what is stated in the Bhashyam. Na api arthapatti grahyaha tadvina anupapadyamanasya asambhava. You cannot come to any conclusion. God cannot, you have not, first of all, you have never seen God. So how can you even apply arthapatti? And anupalabdhi, the knowledge of the absence of an object at a given place is also a means of knowledge we have seen. I show my hand, there is no flower in my hand. Right? Absence of flower is a knowledge. There is no flower in my hand. And this is a particular means of knowledge called abhava pramana. Abhava means non-existence. So absence, you arrive at a conclusion by looking at the absence of an object. So what is, in terms positively put, what is the knowledge we gain? We gain the knowledge of absence of something. And this we have actually, we use it day in and day out. Suppose in the classroom, a teacher asks, is Ramu present today? Then the students will look around and say, no sir, Ramu is not present. Absence of Ramu gives a new knowledge that Ramu is not present. Teacher gains that knowledge. This is how the Anupalabdhi works. And you can think about it. So many examples we use Anupalabdhi to gain knowledge. So, I mean, so many examples are coming in my mind, but it will take more time if we go on. As long as you understand what is this whole process of knowledge gathering is, and apply this process to Bhagavan, then you will understand why he is Aprameya. And in the case of Bhagavan, he is Sat Chit Swarupa. His very nature is existence and consciousness. And when we saw, when the thoughts are formed, how the thoughts are formed and how they are pervaded by the consciousness. So from that, we cannot deny the existence of consciousness. Because of consciousness only, the knowledge itself takes place. So there is something called consciousness. And the Shastras tell us that Bhagavan is of the nature of consciousness, existence and consciousness. Sat and Chit. And the problem is that consciousness, if you accept the Shastra, that consciousness exists, then we have to accept the Shastra's version that consciousness is of the nature of a witness. It's a Sakshi Chaitanyam. It is not an object. So there is a bhava there, existence is there, but that bhava is the form of a Sakshi Chaitanyam, as a witness, not as a pramata. When the consciousness pervades that vritti, that thought, consciousness is blessing that thought, but the thought or that knowledge doesn't get attached to the consciousness. It is just like sunlight falling on any object. It illumines that object. But that object will not carry the sunlight along with it everywhere that object is taken. Once it has illumined, its job is over. Similarly, consciousness, once it has illumined the thought, made it sentient, converted it to a knowledge, consciousness will not continue to have that thought. So it is a sakshi, it's a witness, this consciousness. And this aspect is told to us only by Shabda Pramana. So even there, Shastra is not considering consciousness as an object of knowledge. Then what is this consciousness which is Paramatma? We say, we'll come to that. But before that, we see what Adi Shankara says. He says, Na api shastra pramana vedya pramana janya atishaya abhava. Now he introduces a new aspect into this, that if we have to use the Shastra Pramana, what are the necessary requirements for that? He says Atishaya, means some special quality should be there. What that quality is, we will know more about it, and ultimately what is the final meaning we can come to Aprameya, we will see in the next class. Okay, it's time now. I will stop here. Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Thank you all very much.
Thank you,
I
Mama.
hope today's talk was more informative than
Raghuji, Raghuji, I have very rarely heard this Aprameya explained in detail for an hour. So to me, today is my clarity time 100. I kind of knew, it's not that, but you explained it so well. We cannot but understand. But I have one question, Raghuji.
Yeah.
This link that we provide for your class, can I record it for me? Is it possible? I don't know. Does anybody know?
I think YouTube you can download it. No?
Download it, right? Okay.
Oh, yeah, you can download and record
because it's a gem. I have not, this one I wanted to, because Aprameya, because I have to explain to my 12th graders.
I not completed what is Aprameya. I'll come to that.
Yeah, I know, but this much is, I know you are going to take one more class, but I'm saying this much is, I can't load them with
class, maybe, probably half a class, half an hour or something.
Yeah. That's what I knew, but
this needs to be if you understand this, you have understood Vedanta.
Yeah.
Complete.
See, I don't think so many years of teaching, I haven't explained to my kids this clearly, but this, I think they'll get it.
So this is not there in Puja Swamiji's book also. This is when there was a request in the last class, somebody, towards the end said that, can you please explain the whole thing again? I felt repeating what I repeated in the last class is not going to be used. So we have to go to the basics. So that's what I did.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at it, Raghuji. I have the book, Vishnu Sahasranamam Bhashyam book I have. And I said, what is he explaining? Most of it you explain from there. Anyway, thank you. Okay,
thank you. Thank you very much. Namaskaram. I think I only asked for that repetition.
So are you satisfied? Is it now more clear than what it was?
I think as the previous that lady said, I think it was this entire word was explained so well by you. Thank you very much. Lot of clarity. Thank you.
Namaskaram.
Namaskaram.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.
Guruji.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Thank you very much, Guruji. Thank you for the wonderful
We will see you
explanation.
on Monday.
Thank you.
Wednesday.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Shall I close the session? Or any more questions are there? No questions?
No, Guruji.
Hari Om. Thank you.
Hari Om.
Hari Om.